So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And I'm excited today because my guest, he was one of my early guests when the series started back in 2020. I think you were guest number 3. I am, of course, talking about the fantastically talented Matt Allwright. How are you?
Oh, you're very kind. Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't realize I was a pioneer in this format, Matt. I thought, I was just one of many. Presumably, it didn't end at number three. You carried on and had. I know how you're amazing. The
Oh,
guests that
thank
you
you.
get are absolutely brilliant, and it's credit to you that you do get some really big names on. But always an honor. It's always lovely to speak to you.
I've been very fortunate. Thank you for saying that. It's one of these things that it kind of came up during lockdown. It's continued, which I'm so grateful that it's continued. It's something I enjoy doing. So yeah, welcome back. What has the last 3 years been like for you? Because I know that obviously for a lot of people it was getting over the pandemic,
Yeah.
easing back into work. You were lucky that you were able to continue doing, a lot of the presenting jobs you were doing. So how
Yeah.
did you find that kind of transition back into normal life when it hadn't changed all that much, I suppose, for yourself?
Well, I mean, it was bizarre. It was bizarre for all of us in so many ways. But I suppose from my point of view, I was classified as a key worker. And you look at the amazing things that people were doing in hospitals and, around the country, helping people stay, fed and comfortable and relatively happy with the situation that we had. And there I was just telling people things like I've always done, but suddenly classified as someone that needs to go out there and do their job, and that it kind of threw it into focus a little bit, really, just to realize how important it is for people to get the information they need to live their lives. And obviously the pandemic was a kind of special version of that, a rarefied version of that, but it did underline how important it is to get the word out to people, that people have accurate information on which they can base the way they live their lives, the actions that they take. And when you get down to basics, as we were certainly early on in the pandemic, things like, how do I make sure that the people who I can't see now are okay? Where's my food coming from? How do I educate my kids? What happens if I fall sick? How do I keep me and my loved ones safe from this thing that's going around? And it's so important that people do get the right information. And given that we live in a world where misinformation is so rife and people are desperate to lead us down the wrong path, it did once again kind of underline the importance. I'm not saying the importance of what I do, the importance of valid and accurate information. And so, if I needed reminded, it told me to take my job seriously and do it as well as I could.
I mean, I know one of the things when we last spoke that was quite a hot topic was, of course, flights and airlines and that whole kind of, what do I do if my holiday gets cancelled by COVID? I imagine the COVID side of it, maybe not so much, but people are still having a lot of issues with airlines and like we had the issues that happened the other week with stuff happening just out of anyone's hand, really. I mean, are you still finding issues like that are just, even though the pandemic is kind of over, we're still finding these same sort of issues coming up time and time again?
I think it is, and it's been a much more unsettling episode event that we're still going through. Make no bones about it. People are still falling ill to COVID, but I think it's been more unsettling than a lot of us realize. And I think a lot of it is to do with information and the way that information has been treated and spread, really. Because if you look at what happened with flights, I mean, the last disruption that we had was because I believe the wrong information was sent about flights from one part of the world to another. So again, it is key that the information that we get is right. But I think the pandemic and the way that, for instance, the debate around vaccines happened, the way false information was proliferated against medical evidence, I think that is something that really lit a fuse for a lot of people, and they started thinking, well, what can I trust, and should I trust everything that I'm told by mainstream voices, if you like, or government, or wherever it might come from. And I think we're going to be feeling the effects of that for a long time, and it's going to be so important that we have trustworthy sources of information. So yeah, I don't think we're out of the woods from that. I think it's the beginning of a long journey of asking ourselves some serious questions about the way information is gathered and spread. And I wish I had some answers. The only thing I know is that when you do get a source that you trust, that you stick to that, and you make sure you ask the right questions. About any kind of information that you get, like, where does this come from? Who's paying for it to be gathered? We've gone very deep very quickly here.
I mean,
But it's something that is not an obsession for me, but I have to think about all the time, and I think we all do now. And we're certainly not where we were, say, 10 or 15 years ago, in terms of having those trustworthy sources of information that we take for granted are telling us the truth.
I mean, apart from kind of that side of things, what are the other sort of complaints you're getting from people, that, the sort of the issues that you're finding are really, really important and around at the moment?
I mean, the one that never really goes away for me is about finding a place to live. And there are so many different aspects of that. If you're a renter, you look at the rental market at the moment, what's on offer, the quality of what's on offer, the safety sometimes of what's on offer, the fact that prices seem to be going up, and that's in many ways understandable, because landlords, their mortgages, they're taking out buy-to-let mortgages, and they're watching those rates go up. What are they going to do about that? They're in a business, and they have to make that business work. So often they're passing that on to renters. Then we look, if you're a homeowner and you've got a mortgage yourself, then those rates are going up. And I think, if I'm honest with you, I think we've ignored housing in this country for a long time. And I think it's now coming round to bite us. We're seeing, for instance, you look at students going back to universities, to colleges across the country, so many of them are not sure where they're going to be living yet, and are finding that if they have got somewhere, it might not be somewhere they would have chosen to live. They're having to take what's given. And that's a really worrying situation. I think housing is one of those areas that we need to look at. It's so important. We talk about health, we talk about education, talk about employment, jobs, making money, making a living. All of that comes back to having a place that you can go home to, which supports those things. Your kids can't go to school and study well if they haven't slept well, because they're in a damp room, and their health's at risk. We've seen how badly wrong that can go. So, there's one that I would pick and just go, housing. Let's have a really serious look at where people are living in this country, and how easy it is to sustain that long term.
Now, I said you've been super busy recently. We'll talk a bit about your appearance as a host on Jeremy Vine's show. But first of all, I wanted to say about Morning Live, which is still going strong. It's doing super well. What's it like being a part of that team? Because whenever you see any clips on social media or anything like that, it genuinely looks like you all get on so well and you're having a blast.
We really are, and it's I'd say not unique, but it's a very special environment. It's a very special program. And what I would put that down to is the fact that everybody understands, from the person at the very top, through Gethin and the other presenters, the team that puts the program together, all of us that come in, once or twice a week. We all understand there's a very simple purpose for that program, and that's that we want to help people. We want to, as I was saying, give people information they can trust and that they can act on. And I think that it sounds so simple, but I think so many programs don't do it, or don't understand what their purpose is in the first place. Morning Live absolutely knows that it's there to serve the viewer, and it's there to, whatever it is, whether it's getting stains out of a pillowcase, or whether it's, whatever it might be, how to make your chilies grow in the garden. There is somebody that's there who will find the best possible answer there is to get that to you, so you can do something about it. And when you do that, when you understand your purpose, you know what it's like in work. If you understand what you're there for, almost everything else is easy, because you've just got to head for that goal. Everybody's facing the same way, and they're lovely, lovely people. I mean, some of the loveliest people, like Dr. Poonam, Dr. Oscar, all of the doctors, Dr. Zand, that I end up sitting next to, like Reese and the Katya, the dancers from Strictly. They're just people you want to hang out with, and so it makes it a real joy to go to work.
I mean, one thing I would say about the show is it's too short. Would you love to see it longer?
Yeah, what I'd love it to be is a shorter journey to get there. I love Manchester, but why did they put it so far away? That's what I don't understand. But yeah, I think people could handle more of it. And I think, when you've got something that's got that positivity about it, I think people, there is a thing about leaving people wanting more, but then there's also, you seize a moment, don't you? If you've got something right that feels that good, why not see where you can take it? I understand that.
Now, of course, the other thing which I mentioned, you did get to host Jeremy Vine's show on Channel 5. I feel that show is perfect for you. What was that like, sort of sitting in his seat for him while he was on holiday?
It's great. They're big shoes to fill. I mean, they are literally very big shoes. And it was a real privilege to do it. Jeremy's like one of those broadcasters you look at and think, look at just all the stuff he does. He's so busy. And so to just get a go at doing a show like that was terrific fun. And what I like about it, the way it should be, we're talking about the purpose of Morning Live. I think what that show is when it works really well, is people that do have strong opinions and disagree with each other, but there should be a sense that they are just opinions, and everybody's entitled to an opinion, but they're not necessarily facts. They might be backed up by facts, but opinions are just that, and don't place too much store in what people feel in a moment, because that can change, and some people come into subjects with a certain frame of mind that they apply to that subject, whether their thing is, social justice, or whether it's about law and order, they might see it through that prism. So don't place too much store, but it's really worth hearing what they have to say and appreciating that people don't all feel the way you do. And that's what the beauty of a show like that is. I think it's good to have challenge, and it's good to take people's preconceptions and maybe prejudices sometimes and say, why is that necessarily like that? Is it like that? Or is there another view that might help you, to get where you want to go with the subject? I think in the week that I did it, we talked about immigration maybe 3 times. And I find it really good to hear other voices that maybe don't feel the way I feel about it, just as a challenge to myself. It's like exercise. It's like, does that fit? Why doesn't that fit? Why wouldn't that work? Is that a partial solution, or is that part of the problem? And I think that's a really healthy thing to do, as long as when the clock stops and we come off air, you can still be friends, and you can still sit down with each other and have a cup of tea and, laugh about it. Really, the subjects are serious, but you shouldn't take yourself too seriously. I think that's really key.
I mean, it's very true. I mean, you get quite a few people out there who will take debates very seriously and will kind of, I think, lose themselves a bit and maybe take it too personally. And I think the thing about debate is you've got to be able to listen to everyone, like you say, but at the end of the day, you've all got to come together at the end and go, okay, well, we've got our difference of opinions, but, we can be a bigger person.
I mean, like I say, the subjects are serious, and you can't look at immigration without recognizing the fact that people are losing their lives, in small boats trying to make that journey across. So that you have to take seriously, but understand the difference between facts and genuine facts that have been backed up with evidence, and then opinions, which are, that's like, I think opinions are like monopoly money. You spend it to play a game to find out what's going on, but they in themselves, they're worthless. They're not worth anything.
Now, I mean, obviously, we've talked about, some of the projects you're doing at the moment. For you, is there still what is the dream? What would you love to do if, you could do, you had the choice of anything? Is there still a job out there that you would love if it came up?
Yes, I would like to play pedal steel guitar professionally and record and perform pedal steel guitar for whoever wants to hear it. and that be a sustainable way of life. It sounds terrible. This is like it. I know it sounds like a midlife crisis, and it is a midlife crisis. But over there, and that just you can just see the corner of it there. That's my pedal steel guitar, and it makes the most beautiful sound I can imagine. And I would just like to do that. And somebody ring me up, which they do on a very limited basis. People ring me up and they go, "I've got this song. Can you play a bit of this on it?" And I go, "Yeah, of course." And I sort of help out. But that would be great, wouldn't it? I mean, that's like going on a stage and I do it. Like I play festivals, I'm in bands, but just, that would be maybe in 10 years' time when, or 5 years' time, whenever TV spits me out, just to go, okay, that's me now. I'm pedal steel guitar player. I go for my name's Matt. I drink coffee, I swim in the sea, and I play pedal steel guitar. That's it. I'll get the t-shirt printed.
I mean, obviously, you joined me for one of our Take Five shows a number of years ago where I got you to pick some of your favorite songs. Where did the love of music come from for you? Because it's evident that you do love music. So where did that come from?
From my mum and dad. I mean, it's that straightforward. There was a real mix in our household. We lost dad recently, sadly, but it gave us the opportunity to go back and look at how much music played a part in his life. And he was in barbershop choirs in Reading, and he he played the guitar, played the accordion, loved to sing, did Gilbert and Sullivan, loved jazz, was a big jazz freak in the 50s, skiffle, went through all these phases. And so we celebrated that. My mum was a piano teacher, or is a piano teacher still. She still plays. And so we were surrounded by music, and it was just a matter of what music it was that I was going to ring true with me, because we had instruments and there was always music around, and it was country music, as you can see here. There you go, Dolly and Porter Wagner. And that was just what landed with me. It's what makes the most sense to me. I love the songs. I love the fact that people take the mickey out of it, because it demonstrates they haven't really listened. And then I get the chance to tell them why country music is so significant and why it's important. Things just ring true, don't they? With certain songs, and there's things you can't explain. You don't know why you're listening to something and you find yourself in tears, but it happens. And I've met very rarely people who don't enjoy music at all, and I can only assume they just haven't heard the right tune yet. And I have music around me as much as I can. I love to play, I love to sing, and just make it as much a part of my life as possible. But unless you're one of those very few very talented and very lucky people who get to make a living from making music, the rest of the time it has to be a hobby, because it's too difficult for most people. Look at the pandemic, the number of people I knew in the music industry who were just, that was it, everything shut down, and they had no way. It's hard enough as it is to make a living through music, and then that happened. So yeah, until then, keep TV going, and then weekends, just get the guitar out of the weekends.
I mean, I imagine if Dolly Parton rang up tomorrow and said, "Will you play for me?" Would that be a yes?
I would assume it's a hoax. I would assume it's a scam of some sort, and that people are trying to get me somewhere so they can duff me up. She's never going to call me. I mean, the level I'm at, right? If you imagine that Dolly Parton plays with sixth formers, actually, she doesn't. She plays with like college professors. That's level. I'm like kindergarten level. That's where I'm at. I'm literally just baby steps and starting. So yeah, obviously I would. Of course I'm gonna. Yeah.
Now, I was going to say, it was a number of years ago. We also had you came down to our studio. That was when we did the Take Five. Obviously, Reading is a big part of your life. It's still a big part of my life, although I'm not actually living in Reading anymore. I still go there most weeks to do the Reading Hospital Radio Reading show. For you, what is it you love about Reading? What is it that you feel passionate about Reading? What is it that for you makes Reading stand out?
I think we come in a bit under the radar, Reading. I mean, you look at our desperate attempts in the past to become a city, and it's like Reading's got everything that needs to qualify as a city, and it's huge. It's now, I think, with Northampton, maybe we sort of every year vie to see who's the biggest town in the UK. Absolutely massive, and yet we never get it. And I kind of love that. I kind of love the fact they go, oh, it's so close to London, so it's basically we've got the Elizabeth line now, so everyone thinks we're Londoners, right? And I love the fact that we don't get that recognition as having an identity of our own, and yet you listen to Ricky Gervais, that accent is Reading, and it's nowhere else. Nowhere else in the whole of the UK does anybody speak like Ricky Gervais, apart from Reading and the surrounding areas, right? And we do have a distinct identity in Reading, and we need to be proud of it, and we need to sort of identify with it. I think Reading is a hard-working town. You know, it's got an ethos of getting down to business, and like putting in a good day's work. That's always been the case. Whether it's down in Newtown, you know, working for the biscuit factory, you know, or bulbs, you know, the classic. We've made stuff, we've done stuff in Reading, and we're not just a satellite town for London. We've got our own vibe and our own thing going on, and I'm really proud to come from Reading. And you know, as I say, it's like very, very strong comparisons to Venice. People who've been to Venice often come to Reading, and they're slightly disappointed with Venice afterwards because it chose the wrong one. So no, I know. Yeah, I'm taking a minute, but it's great. It's my watch talking to me. Shut up. It's a great town, and we should be proud of it, and we should you know, celebrate it. I think, like we are doing next weekend. I don't know when this is going out. Okay, but we are playing at the Down at the Abbey festival on Saturday the 9th of September. And do you know what? I couldn't be more excited. The lineup for that festival is unbelievable this year. It's fantastic, and it's the best setting for any festival I've ever been to. So if you can get down to that, I would encourage you to do so and come and say hello to us. Band of Hope.
Fantastic. We'll definitely get this out before then, so it will definitely get a bit of a plug. The other thing we have to talk about, of course, hospital radio. We love the NHS. NHS has been amazing for the last couple. Well, forever it's been amazing, but in particular the last couple of years, it's been hands down fantastic. What is your opinion of our amazing NHS? What would you like to say to them all?
Oh, I get the feeling. I look back over the last couple of years, and I'm sure I know I'm not the first person to say this. You look at, we stood on our doorsteps and, you know, clapped and rattled pans in that moment, and that was a weekly thing that we did. And you know how much risk the NHS, people in the NHS took on in that moment, and how hard they worked. And you know, when things were so uncertain, that was the one certainty, wasn't it? That the people who were in the NHS wouldn't let us down. They would do whatever they could to try and keep us safe, to look after us in that dreadful moment that we had. And I just wonder where that's gone. I'll be honest. I just think, you know, where we are right now, did we forget that? Or was that just a token gesture? Because it wasn't for me. I thought it was actually. It's a shame it takes a pandemic or something like that to bring out the recognition for the amazing thing we have in the NHS and what a gift that is. Because I promise you, the rest of the world looks at the NHS and says, "I wish we had that." So, you know, maybe I don't think we should clap. I don't think we should do a regular Thursday thing, because it becomes, you know, quickly cheapens it and comes to mean nothing. But I certainly think that we should really, on a global way, recognize the huge contribution that people in the NHS make to our lives, from cradle to grave, to you know, the moment we're born, to you know, to when we leave. And as I say, something we've been through personally ourselves recently, and unbelievable compassion. So thank you.
And of course, to any of the patients who are listening, what would you like to say to them?
Oh, just get well soon. I hope that whatever you're going through is not too painful or distressing for you. And I just hope that wherever you are, you're on the way to wellness, to happiness, and peace and love with those who surround you. So the best of luck, and yeah, get well soon.
As ever, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, just keep safe, and thank you.
Cheers, Matthew.